We now move to the last session of our conference, which is a valedictory session. We are absolutely delighted to have Ms. Gunjan Dave, Member Technology, with us in this session. May I request Mr. Mohan Ram to kindly escort Ms. Gunjan Dave to the dais, and may I request Professor Bhaskar Ramamurthy, our former chair, to kindly felicitate her. And I'll also request her introduction to please come up on the slide. So Ms. Gunjan Dave has completed her graduation and post-graduation from the prestigious IIT Roorkee. She further pursued an MBA from the esteemed Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies in Mumbai. In 1987, she joined the Indian Telecom Services and dedicated more than 3 decades of her career to MTNL Mumbai, serving in various capacities. Continuing her upward trajectory, Ms. Gunjan Dave assumed the role of Member Technology at DCC, Ministry of Telecom, starting from June 1, 2023. In the prestigious position of Member Technology, she is responsible for initiating policy decisions, driving technological advancements, and strategic decision-making in the telecommunication sector. Welcome, Ms. Dave, to the session. I'd also now request Mr. Mohan Ram, our Director General, to kindly make some opening remarks for this session. This session is specifically to give a summary of the deliberations that have happened over the last 3 days in the technical sessions. So, Mr. Mohan Ram.
Thanks, Bindu. So, greetings to all of you. I extend a warm welcome to the dignitaries joining us for the closing session of TTD 2023. Ms. Gunjan Dave, Member Technology of Digital Communications Commission. Professor Bhaskar Ramamurthy, former Chair of TSDSI. Mr. Suresh, Vice Chair TSDSI. And our esteemed colleagues from TSDSI membership, the academia, startups, and the industry. So today we have come together to mark the concluding session of the TSDSI Tech Deep Conference. I am honored to address you as we begin this closing session. This conference has been a remarkable journey, and it is important to reflect on the significant advancements in the field of telecommunication technology. And I'm also really happy to note that there has been very good participation in each of these sessions. And I think it has been ranging between 100 to 275 plus. So this kind of shows the interest of the community in technology. And I hope this engagement will contribute towards standardization efforts in TSDSI. So India, through TSDSI, has played a crucial role in shaping global 5G standards. Today, we take pride in leading the efforts to develop standards for 6G in India. As you are aware, with joint efforts from all over the world, ITUR Working Party 5D successfully drafted the new recommendations for IMT 2030, which is 6G, which was finalized at the 44th meeting in Geneva on 22nd June 2023. And I'm happy to note that TSDSI and its members have been actively engaged, not only in shaping this framework, but also in contributing to the ITUR Future Technology Report. Currently, we are deeply involved in technical studies across various 6G areas, including integrated sensing and communication, integrated AI and communication, ubiquitous connectivity, waveforms, qualitative KPIs, and architecture, among others. So throughout the conference, we have had the privilege of showcasing exceptional work, not only within TSDSI, but also happening elsewhere in the global SDO organizations. We have dwelled into research initiatives, examined industry trends, and explored policy directions, all while keeping a keen eye on innovations and that have the potential to shape future trends. So this conference has served as a platform for experts to exchange ideas, to collaborate and identify opportunities for future cooperation. So as we bring this conference to a close, I invite you to look ahead to the TSDSI awards ceremony taking place later today in a hybrid format and the subsequent social reception. I hope these events will provide a fitting conclusion to our time together, offering us the chance to celebrate excellence and strengthen the bonds that unite our community. In conclusion, I wish to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for your participation, contributions, and commitment to advancing telecommunication technology. So thank you again for your participation, and I hand it over to Bindu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohan Ram. We now begin with this session. I would like to invite the representative co-chairs from each of the technical sessions to the dais to give the summary of their sessions. Subhash Mandal, who was a co-chair for session 1. May I have him on the dais, please? Mr. Avinash Agarwal for session 2. And I'm not, no, sir, please keep sitting. Avinash, is he there in the room? Okay, maybe he'll join. Priyanka Day from session 3 is, I think, joined online. Shweta Kiran also has joined online. Thank you. They're online. Professor Brijesh Lal for session 5. And Dr. N. Subramanian for session 6. Please join us on the dais. In the interest of time, I will not introduce them again because you've already experienced their co-chairing over the last 3 days. Please. We'll start with the summary of the sessions. May I request my colleague to bring up the summary conclusions on the screen? And we'll hand off to Subhash for session 1. You can speak from, yeah.
Good evening, and thank you for staying so late through the day. So I'll be very brief. So I had the fortune to be a co-chair along with Jishnu for session number 1. Next slide, please. So in this session, there are 2 keynote and followed by the panel discussion. So in the keynote, this was chaired by Jishnu. Unfortunately, Jishnu could not be here in person, so I will present on his behalf. So the first keynote was about the IMT 2030 framework, and Mr. Shangjan had a major role to play in the overall ITU framework development, and we are fortunate to have him explain the framework. And he actually talked about the history of IMT in ITU, gave a framework of how the ITU as a machinery works, explained the future technology trend, and he specifically mentioned AI is a big trend, but then I think AI also is being talked about, energy implication. I think Professor Bhaskar Ramamurthy talked about it. So it's a lot of exciting time. It's not only development of AI, but how do you make it sustainably? Explaining the 6 user scenario and 15 capabilities. So this is one of the things that he talked about. The second keynote, Avinash is here right in the dais. So he talked about Bharat 6G vision. He mentioned about how affordable, ubiquitous, and sustainable 6G is important. And this is part of our Prime Minister's 6G vision document that we talked about. And he also mentioned about key 6G technology focus in Bharat 6G vision. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So then I moderated a panel session. In the panel session was quite interesting. We had the representation from different industry verticals. So one of the things that we are talking about 5G, what impact it has made, what is the difference between 4G, 5G. So there are a lot of questions coming from across the industry. So what we did is we brought in the representation from different industry people working on metaverse. There are people working on the online shopping industry, and then we brought in experts from healthcare and the automotive. And one of the key things that came across, that while there are 6 use case segments, what really will matter is the end user experience, right? So how do you bring in the experience? The one other point that came up is that how do you really make sure that while the 5G is bringing in a lot of capabilities, but how does it apply to the industry vertical? How does the industry verticals consume it? So while 5G has talked about network capability exposure, but the actual application users are not aware of how to consume that capability being exposed by the network. And then if you have to really get into the quality difference between an network aware application versus network non-aware applications, it is quite possible that you are not using the capability in the best possible way. So those are some of the aspects came up. So we made reference to Camara project of GSMA, where there has been some guidances being given. So that was one important aspect came up. And the other aspect that came up was the intelligence at the edge as an integral fabric in the network, right? So these are some of the things that were expected to be in the 6G. So that's in a nutshell what came out of this. But one key point is that there was a consensus that whatever has been put into the 6 use cases, that pretty much covers all aspects. Thank you.
Thank you, Subhash. We'll now invite Avinash to give the summary of session 2.
Thank you, madam. Basically, session 2 was on advancing ubiquitous connectivity through convergence, and this was a very relevant topic because just recently that 6G framework that was being finalized by ITUR. So one of the 6 user scenarios was ubiquitous connectivity, and somehow like India was one of the key forces who was requesting or pushing this ubiquitous connectivity. We had 2 keynotes. One was from Satish from RGO, and he talked about 6G convergence aspects. He also talked about the challenges and opportunities. We also had Mandaline, who is president of ATSC, and then she brought insights about broadcast broadband convergence. And because the topic itself talked about advancing ubiquitous connectivity through convergence. So during the panel discussion where we had experts from Nokia, Tejas, Savit, Qualcomm, and Guna from TSDSI. So a lot of different aspects were discussed. One of the points was related to terrestrial and non-terrestrial NTN convergence. There was talk of broadcast broadband convergence also. And it was a very interactive session. We had almost 20 questions, and perhaps we just ran out of time. And of course, it was chaired by Maheshji, and I was also there. Thank you.
Thank you, Avinash. We'll now move to Priyanka Dey, who's joining us online for giving a summary of session 3.
Hello, everyone. I had the opportunity of co-chairing session 3 with Mr. Prakash. So the session 3 basically had 3 keynotes, which was followed by a panel discussion. And the Future Technology Trends document of IMT 2030 was actually the baseline of this particular session. So keynote 1 was given by Mr. Jishnu. So he basically highlighted some of the critical 6G use cases of immersive or holographic communication and 4D holographic imaging, as well as digital twin, where he explained how the already existing technologies of 5G can be used along with the integrated sensing, which will be present in 6G networks, and which can be used to implement these use cases in the upcoming 6G networks. Next slide, please. So he also gave a very good overview of all the emerging technologies of 6G. So I'm not going into the details for the sake of time, but these were some of the key technologies like modulation, coding, waveforms, etc., which were explained by him. Next slide, please. So keynote 2 was provided by Professor Rahim. So he basically talked about what are the targets of the 6G network, and three main important aspects came out of it. One is energy efficiency. The second one is 6G network should be capable of solving the societal and the economic problems, and it should also be capable of bridging the digital divide. And he also touched upon three key aspects, namely coverage, synchronization, and sensing, which will be very important in 6G networks. Next slide, please. So he came up actually with some very interesting solutions of how to improve the coverage without compromising on the capacity and energy savings of a 6G network. And he basically called the 6G network to be a network of networks, which means like the terrestrial network, the non-terrestrial network, everything will be integrated together to give rise to a network which will help in improvising the society, as well as bringing in gains for the operators, industries, etc. So next slide, please. The third keynote was given by Mr. Hideaki. So he basically gave a definition of the 6G, where he compared 6G with the capabilities that are already there in 5G. He also provided a standalone architecture of 6G and an overview of how there can be a smooth migration from the 5G network to the 6G network. Next slide. So this last one was the panel discussion consisting of 4 panelists. So in the first round of the panel discussion, there was a view provided by all the panelists on what are the emerging technologies of 6G, and these are some of the key technologies that were pointed out by the panelists. And after that, there were 2 rounds of questions and answers which was discussed, which basically focused on the various new areas of 6G, and what are the challenges in 5G, and what are the demands from the operator basically to sort out all these challenges so that we have a better 6G network when it comes into place. So with this, I think I'll end this summary. Thank you.
Thank you, Priyanka. Moving over to Shweta Kiran for S4.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shweta. Yeah, can you please go to the next slide? This session number 4 was on 6G standardization activities. And we tried to focus this session on IMT 2030, and especially my co-chair, Mr. VK Roy, was personally involved with the ITUR study group that has been very active in involved in releasing these use case scenarios as well as capabilities. That was our focus, and he set the context in the beginning for the focus of the session. Moving on to the next slide, please. So we had 5 keynote speakers in the session. The first one was about ubiquitous connectivity for bridging the digital divide and integration with NTN. This was provided by Professor Kiran Kuchi of IIT Hyderabad. He talked about the key technologies, major key technologies that he assumed would achieve ubiquitous connectivity, especially for rural areas which don't have the fiber uplink in the nearby areas. So based on his research, he proposed that there will be new waveforms that will be required to provide better efficiency. Then there is the extremely large antenna arrays, which they have already proved, which would provide better throughput and availability. Along with, he proposed chain of multiple relay nodes, which can provide backhaul connectivity to these rural areas. And he also highlighted that a tight integration between terrestrial and non-terrestrial network is important. So the next keynote speaker was Ms. Devaki Chandramouli from Nokia, and she talked about immersive communication. She presented about how industry metaverse is way ahead compared to user experience metaverse, and it is very close to deployment at scale. She also addressed how immersive communication has, evolved over the years in various 3GPP releases, along with the shared vision for 6G for immersive communication, which is like the fusion of physical and the digital world. Next slide, please. So the next keynote speaker was Mr. Professor Nilesh Mehta from IISc Bengaluru, and he talked about multi-connectivity for HRLLC and coexistence under its coexistence with EMBB. He tried to address how we can achieve these really unbelievable targets that we have set ourselves for 6G in terms of hyper reliable, low latency communications. And based on his ongoing research, he also presented about how these key two aspects, which are like multi-connectivity and preemption, can work towards presenting or achieving this goal, basically. The fourth keynote speaker was integrated AI and communication, which is in a new 6G frontier. Like, what is the upcoming aspects of how AI/ML can be integrated into 6G system? This was provided by Mr. Ashok Kumar Reddy Chava from Samsung Research. And he presented a really good summary of how AI/ML can be broken down and integrated into various aspects of communication networks, and how they can revolutionize the system design paradigms and enable the systems to operate very efficiently. And he also addressed some of the AI/ML aspects that are being covered or addressed in various 3GPP RAN working groups. He presented on that as well. So it was a pretty good summary of where we can go towards 6G with AI/ML. Next slide, please. So the last session was provided by Mr. Professor Arpan Chattopadhyaya from IIT Delhi. He talked about research directions on signal processing for DFRC. DFRC is like dual function radar communication systems. So he talked about radar sensing integration and how it can coexist with our existing communication systems. And he also addressed challenges and how to impart the intelligence of this into the DFRC system. So it was a overall pretty engaging session, and there were quite a bit of questions from the audience as well. And I personally myself learned a lot through this keynote speaker. So it went really well, is what I felt. And this is the organizing team. I would like to thank my co-chair, Mr. VK Roy, who has been helping us organize this session, and co-conveners like Mr. Rajesh Kapoor from TSDSI, along with Vishnu Ram from TSDSI, and Chandrakanta as well, who's been very instrumental in helping me get together the nitty-gritty of things and hosting the session. Yeah, thank you very much, TSDSI, for giving me this opportunity to co-host this, to co-chair this session. It's been a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Shweta. And I invite Professor Brijesh Lal to give the summary of session 5.
Yeah, so the fifth session was on open and resilient design, and Professor Arzad from IIT Bhilai and Ms. Mundra, they were the chair and co-chair respectively. Unfortunately, neither of them is present here today. So let me just talk about the highlights of what was discussed. So we had two keynotes. One was by Ishan from Nokia, and the other was by Mr. Sabale from ETSI. And in the first talk, he talked about MEC and how the MEC design has evolved till this point in time. And moving further, what do we expect as we go towards 6G? So that was quite an interesting talk where resilience being important and MEC playing a role there was brought out. In the second talk, Ishan focused on monetization aspects. And there he said how Nokia is moving towards an architecture where there'll be openness in terms of APIs being exposed so that people have the ability to leverage the network, which in turn could lead to monetization issues. And he talked about something very interesting. He said, culture eats. So what did he? Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not carrying my specs. So yeah, so there he the focus on monetization is really important, because the point there was that while we've moved from 4G to 5G, the idea was that we could have more B2B kind of applications happening, but largely we are still serving B2C kind of consumers. So what is it that we can do differently? Or these two keynotes were followed by a panel discussion where we had participants from both academia and from the industry, where we looked at two use cases. One was for banking services, and the second was haptics. Both of these required a degree of openness and resilience. What came out very clearly was that while there is this need for openness and resilience, there's also this issue of trust. How do you handle the security related issues while you move towards openness? So while everybody agreed that openness is the way forward, how do we make sure that issues such as trust and security are not transgressed, and we still are able to handle them? And resilience, of course, is something that you need as you move onwards. Next slide, please, where we summarize the key takeaways. Yeah, so here there was a talk about learning from what was done in 5G. So what are the key takeaways from 5G? How can we incorporate them into the mechanism as we move forward? There was talk on monetization related issues. Ishan and then other panelists also spoke at length about them. Then there was this issue related to openness and resilience itself, which was talked about again and again. And finally, one thing that came out quite strongly from all panelists and the keynote speakers as well was the need for AI becoming native and more commonplace in the settings of the future. That was about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Professor Lal. And now Dr. N. Subramanian for session 6.
Yeah, thank you. So, this session was primarily focusing on the evolving security-related concerns and challenges and what could be the possible approaches. There were two keynote speakers, esteemed speakers. One, we had Professor Uzur Saran talking from the end-to-end security perspective, and we had Dr. Urvashi Sinha from RRI talking about the convergence of quantum communication, QKD, and 6G. And then we had an interesting set of panel discussion with members from industry, academia, as well as R&D labs. We'll just go to the summary of the whole lot of things that happened in the whole discussion. So, touching the threat landscape, as again taking further from the previous session, also the openness in the network architecture, ORAN, VRAN, concerns related to evolving attack vectors, adversarial machine learning concerns that AI also brings along with it, the concerns with respect to privacy technologies that are required in the context of fine-grained privacy invasion that are possible. These are something were very much tabled as serious concerns. And totally from the another dimension, we see the threats emanating from the quantum computing for the classical crypto system, which are like integer factorization based algorithms like RSA, ACC kind of thing. And how do we go about the post-quantum cryptography adoption? And the concerns from the implementation side, when we have multi-vendor ecosystem, how you can assure a trustworthy environment, edge security concerns, application-specific security concerns, and things like that. Yeah, go to the next slide. So from here, then we see the summary that it's coming from the requirements and possible approaches. So when we see such concerns, then what we require as demand is end-to-end security at device level, physical level, radio core and edge level, and trustworthiness as an essential requirements from 6G, and secured by design approach, zero trust architecture mechanism, distributed approaches for orchestration, and of course processes and standardization for regulatory controls have to be seen. Yeah, next slide, please. The totally another dimension of looking at things that are going to probably pan out is on the quantum communication and post-quantum cryptography. One is from the quantum mechanics side, which offers us the secure key distribution through QKD. where there are attempts in the country through fiber-based satellite and free space QKD, long distance QKD, and evolving methods through trusted relays, quantum memory, and satellite as repeaters are all kind of foreseen in the coming years. And totally on the other side, to see how do you augment existing system itself to be quantum resistance. That's where the post-quantum crypto comes into picture. So we see how do we devise quantum resistant methods for both authentication and key exchange, which are fundamentally required. As we see even in the 5G and the existing network architectures, the PK is largely being adopted. We may have to augment it with post-quantum crypto primitives in that. So it should require benchmarking and evaluation and migration to quantum resistant PK systems and implementation of all this end-to-end. Yeah. So yeah, next slide, please.
Can we move to the next slide, please?
Yeah. So with this, the key recommendations from this whole session would be to take further is to prepare some kind of a specific roadmap for looking at the opportunities with respect to the R&D, indigenous product development perspectives, formation of task forces to firm up the requirements and expectation, linkages to national quantum mission and how do we leverage it, benchmarking and implementation of post-quantum crypto, and setting up of various environment for motivating young researchers to contribute to this effort. And I thank all the key, you can go to the next slide, it brings out the speakers, Huzur Saran and Urbasisa, thanks for them. And next we have the set of panelists who effectively contributed to it. Thanks to all of them, and thanks for the organizers to roped in us for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Subramanian. That was a brief summary, snapshot summary of the various technical sessions that were held over the last 3 days. May I request all the co-chairs who are on the dais and joining us online to please stand here for a photograph, joint photograph. And before we move to the next part of the session, which is the award session, can you please assemble here for a photograph? The participants, Shweta and Priyanka, can you please switch on your video? We would like to have a group photograph of all the co-chairs who are with us. Ma'am and Mr. Mohanram, please join them for a group photograph. Sorry for not. Can we please give a big round of applause to the co-chairs? A lot of hard work has gone over the last 3 or 4 months by the co-chairs and conveners and the coordinators, and also the speakers. Thank you very much for your efforts. We now move to the last part of this particular session, which is the awards session. I'd like to bring up request to bring up the slide deck for the awards. Yeah, thank you. So TSDSI gives away Outstanding Technical Contributions Awards to member experts who have contributed to development of a report or a standard in the previous financial year. This award was instituted last in 21-22, and the rules are given here. In the interest of time, I will not read through these. We'll jump straight to the awardees. We will first celebrate the awardees for the Networks Study Group. The awardees are Professor Anand Srivastav and Professor Vivek Ashok Bohra. May I request him to please come up to the dais and receive your award from Madam Gunjan Dave. And while you come to the stage, I will read out your contribution and your citation. Yeah, so Anand Srivastav, can we just skip the introduction and go to their contribution? Yeah, yeah. So Professor Anand Srivastav and Professor Vivek Ashok Bohra have been actively engaged with TSDSI. Their proposal for study of visible light communication, LiFi, has led to the issue of a technical report on this subject. They have made insightful contributions of outstanding quality to the VLC LiFi use cases and emerging technological breakthroughs towards finalization of this report. Issue of this technical report paves the way for TSDSI to work on standardization in this very important technology area, which has the potential of significantly revolutionizing the next generation of cellular mobile communication standards. Professor Srivastav and Professor Vora, please come forward and receive your awards. The citation, please. Can you, Can we have Professor Bohra also joining? It's a joint award. So if you can, Professor Srivastava, you can stay back. It's a joint award to both of you. You can, a big round of applause for this. Thank you very much. We'd like to invite Professor Srivastava and Professor Bohra to please give a short acceptance speech.
Good evening. It's an honor to be standing here today to get this award. First of all, I want to thank TSDSI for recognizing our work and awarding with this accolade. So, and also thankful to Mr. A.K. Mittal, who has been guiding us in our Center of Excellence for Li-Fi. So whenever we had some program, he always gave some good inputs, and really thanks to Mr. A.K. Mittal. And also in visible light communication and Li-Fi, we have identified certain areas which we want to push in the telecom standards, in the international telecom standards. And also I want to highlight here that we have been given, we have to set up a lab on 5G use cases. This is given by Department of Telecom recently. So we hope to develop certain innovative use cases and probably contribute to telecom standards. Finally, I want to put on record the commitment of Mr. Mittal ji, Mr. Vijay Madan ji, who are furthering the activities of TSDSI, and I'm sure with their mentorship and DG, Director General, and his team, TSDSI will scale higher heights, greater heights, and all the best wishes. Thank you very much.
Professor Bohra, would you like to say a few words?
Thanks a lot for your nomination, and it's deep appreciation from our side. And Prof. Anand has already summarized the help what we got from TSDSI. And I would like to also thank my colleagues in IIIT Delhi and the students and the research scholars who are working with us on VLC and Li-Fi. Without their immense help and support, this technical report would not have been possible. The results would not have been possible. And the amount of research what you're doing in VLC or Li-Fi space wouldn't have been possible. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your help. Thank you.
We now move to the second set of awardees for the Services and Solutions Study Group. Can we have the next awardee? So the next award goes to Mr. Nirant Amog. Do we have him in the room? Yeah. Can you please come forward while I introduce your work to the audience? So Nirant, move forward, please. Next slide, please. So Nirant is the head of 6G Ecosystem and Standardization at Nokia Standards Department. He is also the vice chair of the study group Services and Solutions at TSDSI. Prior to this, he was a chief architect standards at the Huawei India R&D Center at Bengaluru. He's a senior expert in the domain of telecom and information networks, research and industry standards with over 20 years of experience in pre-research, standardization and product development activities. This award is being given to Nirant for his work on, and we bring it up in the next slide. Can we have a citation, please? For several high-impact contributions towards the TSDSI technical report on minimum technical requirements for PPDR system deployment in India, published in August 2022, Nirant assumed the champion's responsibility towards public protection and disaster recovery report. He actively contributed and led the TSDSI activities on vertical industry services, architecture, and platform for 5G and beyond in alignment with global bodies like 3GPP. Nirant, please come forward and accept your award. And Nirant, would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, everybody. Firstly, I would like to thank TSDSI for deep thank you for all the members, not only the secretariat members, but the entire leadership and the TSDSI members, because writing a technical report in TSDSI is not an easy task. So standardization is a tough job, and especially the key thing is to gain consensus. So thanks to all the secretariat members, especially A.K. Mittal, Vijay Madanji, Rajesh Kapoorji. They have helped us navigate, especially on this important topic like PPDR and how to front end with various government stakeholders this request actually came from the government that TSDSI should produce this outcome. And then how to channel this, and we had a lot of hiccups during this whole process. And of course, I having the experience of working in 3GPP on PPDR standards, especially on mission critical services. So I was able to put forth my viewpoints and also take help of all the secretariat team also to get the Indian side of the story and also bring this beautiful report out, which I think has been tabled in front of the government now for further implementation. And thank you for the entire fraternity of TSDSI in supporting this work. So I would want to also take this opportunity to emphasize how important TSDSI is in this whole ecosystem of developing next generation of technologies, right? So especially with government trust now on 6G. So I think TSDSI becomes even more important, and it is one of the fastest and youngest body to achieve the status of integrating pretty quickly into global standards development. So that's a huge achievement in itself, and I deeply applaud the commitment that government has put into TSDSI and also the entire TSDSI fraternity, which is now 100+ members, and it is growing. So that shows the commitment towards how India should emerge as the technology leader. And especially coming into this type of work that we do. So at least personally having such an experience of working in global bodies and joining TSDSI, and now I also represent in leadership, three things come to my mind very quickly, and which is basically, we all know about the PPP model, which is the public-private partnership, which helps out in grooming new technologies out. So personally, a journey of PPP was also applicable for this report, which is purpose, passion and perseverance. I think without these three aspects of TSDSI and also individuals of TSDSI, this report or the work within the groups are not possible. So I hope we ignite this three aspects in our value system of TSDSI, and we take things forward and create more value to next generations of technology that we want to see. And I would like to congratulate all of you on achieving this milestone with TSDSI, as we see today, where we are discussing 6G horizon, and I'm sure by 2030 we will also have deployments of 6G first in India. Thank you for this opportunity, and also for honoring me. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirant.
Sorry, and all these things I forgot to thank my organization, Nokia. So I think they've been tremendous force for individuals like me in the organizations who is always encouraging, and for all the impactful contributions, I think that we bring to TSDSI. And also you all learned probably by yesterday that Nokia, TSDSI motivation and all other motivations in India has also led Nokia to launch a 6G lab in India, which was inaugurated by the Honorable Minister of Communications. And this is an attempt also from global organizations like Nokia to engage more locally and build successful technologies for Indian market. Thank you again. Thank you, Nokia, as well.
Thank you, Nirant. And last but not the least, the second awardee in the Services and Solutions group, Ankit Mahajan. May I invite Ankit to please come forward and accept his award. Can we have his contribution, please? So to introduce Ankit, Ankit is currently working as General Manager, Technical and Operations at Sensorized Smart Solutions Private Limited. He completed his BTech in Electronics and Telecommunications Engineering in 2009 and an MBA from IMT Ghaziabad in 2012. Can we have his citation, please? So Ankit is being awarded the Outstanding Technical Contributions Award for his assuming the champion's responsibility towards digital process for Know Your Machine Custodian technical report, which was published in February 2023, leading the efforts to a successful publication of the report. And the report has now been referred to by 1M2M project also. Ankit, please come forward and accept your award. Ankit, would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, all. I want to thank TSDSI and all the respective members in making this as a success. I just started the journey seeing a gap, and TSDSI being the agency which actually fulfills the gap between the industry standards and the global standards which exist over there, and how to bring all the gaps towards the national standardization body. So I thanks TSDSI for the tremendous work and their support in bringing all these topics to the general awareness. And I also thank my organization putting all the efforts, allowing us to work beyond our regular responsibilities to make things happen and fill the industry gaps. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ankit. With that, we come to the end of the awards session for the financial year 2022-23 and the end of this session. Before we conclude the session, it's my pleasant duty to invite Ms. Gunjan Dave to deliver a keynote address to us. Ms. Dave.
All the distinguished participants of today's event, a very good evening to all of you. Thank you for the opportunity to address this distinguished gathering. In fact, I am getting jitters after knowing that such a learned audience is sitting in front of me. I stand before you with great pleasure as we come together for this valedictory session of the annual TSDSI Technical Deep Dive Conference. This event has served as a platform to convene experts from across the globe, fostering discussions on global standardization and the evolving trends in next generation mobile technologies. Let me begin by extending my heartfelt congratulations to TSDSI for their tireless efforts in organizing this conference. Your dedication to promoting dialogue and collaboration in the realm of 5G and beyond towards the development of standards is commendable. I would also like to applaud TSDSI's continuous endeavor to encourage various stakeholders in India to actively contribute to the development of standards towards 6G and other technologies, emerging technologies. A remarkable achievement that deserves our recognition is the rapid deployment of over 3 lakh BTSs in India, making our nation the second largest telecom network globally. This remarkable feat was accomplished in record time, and it signifies our country's relentless pursuit of technological progress. The conference themed 6G Horizons, Converging Technologies for a Connecting Society, has provided a comprehensive platform for discussing a myriad of topics, including emerging terrestrial technologies for 6G, standardization initiatives, open and resilient designs, security considerations, and sustainability in design. Today, the significance of standards in our interconnected world cannot be overstated. They serve as the bedrock for monetizing innovative ideas and intellectual property. Even in academia research that aligns with standards, it is being increasingly recognized. Collaborating with experts and contributing to one's area of expertise can create substantial value in this rapidly evolving technological landscape. In line with the global timeline for the development of 6G technology, the Department of Telecommunication has diligently worked on Bharat 6G Vision document, which was unveiled by our Honorable Prime Minister on March 23, 2023. This vision outlines India's ambition to be a frontline contributor in designing, developing, and deploying 6G technology by 2030. It firmly anchored in the principles of affordability, sustainability, and ubiquity. In pursuit of this vision, DOT has formed the Bharat 6G Alliance, a collaborative platform acclaim for the quality of infrastructure and hospitality. We look forward to hosting WTSA 2024 in October 24 in New Delhi. I recommend that TSDSI prepare a report on the TTDD conference outlining potential areas for further technical studies and standard developments. DOT is dedicated to assisting TSDSI in bringing more meetings of standard bodies to India. In conclusion, our collective commitment to 6G R&D marks a significant step towards a transformative future. This phase is pivotal in shaping the standards of 6G technology, and I am confident that together we will lead India and the world towards a technologically empowered society with a focus on unprecedented connectivity and sustainable development. I extend my best wishes to all of you for your endeavors in the realm of telecommunications and standards development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dave, for your very encouraging remarks. We promise you, like what Nirant said, the 3 Ps, purpose, passion, and perseverance. At TSDSI, we would continue to work on this credo and make sure that India leads in the 6G era. With that, we come to the end of this session. I would like to invite Vijaya Vivek Kamath to kindly give a vote of thanks. Is she there in the hall? And while she's coming up to the dais, we would also like to acknowledge the support from Keysight World for having sponsored this particular session. Thank you very much, Keysight. So Ms. Vijaya Kamath is working with Sensorize. She's also the Outreach Committee co-chair, and she was on the executive committee of this conference. Over to you, Vijaya.
Thank you so much, Bindu. A very good evening to all of you. while I could not make it in person for the TTDD session, which, I was part of organizing, I did attend 3 sessions online because 6G, like ma'am mentioned, it's very important that, India plays a very pivotal role, in making the society aware of the benefits of 4G and, all the advancement in technology, etc. India should play a lead role, like our Prime Minister has been talking about, and various institutions, regulatory bodies, etc. are working on. So, coming to the vote of thanks, I think on behalf of TTDD 2023 Executive Committee, would like to thank Ma'am Gunjan Daveji for coming and gracing, the proceedings of TTDD 2023 on the concluding day, and also felicitating the winners of the session today. I would like to also thank Professor Bhaskar Ramamurthy, our former chair, and Mr. Suresh Chitturi, our current vice chair, along with all the co-chairs, the speakers who made this edition of TTDD a success. Would also like to thank the organizing committee of TTDD 2023 for organizing another successful edition of TTDD. We have our design partner. Of course, a lot of credit to ArtYug, which was led by Meha Kabra for doing the design work. And last but not the least, and the most important, no event is successful without participants. So in the last 4 days, what we have seen is across 289 sessions, we've had almost 135 participants. Thanks a lot for participating on premise here, remotely, in hybrid mode. Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone. Good evening. Happy weekend.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vijaya Kamath. And with that, we come to the close of yet another edition of TSDSI Tech Deep Dive conference. We hope to see you again in person or in hybrid mode next year. Thank you very much. For the folks who are with us in the room, please join us for a networking social reception. Thank you very much. Thank you for the online participants for being with us. Thank you.